we all start with some assumptions about how to navigate life. Like, I am a self, I'm an individual, I need to protect myself, I need to gather people around me who think like me, I need to live in a nation, I need to be financially secure. These all at some level sound very reasonable assumptions to live with, and in some way they are, but when we can see that when large groups of people organize themselves in this way, and even in daily living we live this way, division and conflict seem to be a part of the package. Society is both at very subtle and very obvious ways. Societies are organized around hierarchies. I mean, it's so banal, we don't even need, it doesn't need elaboration, but within families or at the workplace or political structures or religion or you name it, any structure is hierarchically organized. And essentially, to cut a lot of theorizing down to its essence, it's people with power, whether they are men or whether they are rich or whatever, pushing around other people to get what they want done. I mean, that's the core of it, I think. And therefore, it becomes very important to ask a question of this, ask a question of the violence that such power structures and authorities generate, and we can see it happening on a day-to-day basis, right? Religious violence, gender violence, political or class violence. I mean, it's everywhere, and maybe we have just become inured to it. It doesn't trouble us too much, but the fundamental question of, can we organize a community in which genuinely power can be questioned? So some of the starting points, I would say, common to all such schools which are interested in these questions is that it has to be a place where fear is not used as a way of motivating. We don't use traditional motivators like reward and competition, comparison among children. And the foundations for this education has to be a relationship between the teachers and the students, which is based on affection and mutual understanding rather than on authority and fear. These are the basic necessary ground conditions before you can even start such an education.
So we are a small school. We have only about 70 to 75 children. But we think of ourselves as a community that has those children and about 15 to 20 teachers and say about 100 parents. So if you add all that up, we're a community of about 200 people working together in this exploration.
I mean, if your aim in some sense is to help a young person find a livelihood, then you will meet what the market demands, right? And today's market demands that somebody is literate in some particular ways, right? They have technical skills or they can read and write. Those are the skills they think will help you become employable. So the tremendous emphasis is on those text-based learning and academic learning. And moreover, because society is all about gatekeeping, so they will decide who enters a particular gate and who doesn't enter a particular gate. If those are your goals, then your curriculum and syllabus will help you best pass those gates. And unfortunately, in a country like India, the tests are those gatekeepers, right? But the minute you widen the scope of education, then everything is part of your learning.
Children are, they spend up to 12 years in school. A large part of it is meaningless to them. Some of them are scared. There are all kinds of negative emotions that school brings up for them. And at the end of all that, you get a new generation of young people that are just there to feed the current system and to keep things going, no? Not question, not change, no chance of social transformation, let alone personal transformation. Okay, we'll sing it at that pace. It's a bit high, so sing nice and loud. What would you do if I sang out of tune? Okay? Sorry. 1, 2, 3, start. What would you do if I sang out of tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me? Lend me your ears and I'll sing you a song, and I'll try not to sing out of key. Ooh, I get high with little help from my friends. Ooh, I get high with little help from my friends. Ooh, I'm gonna try with little help from my friends. What do I do when my love is away? Does it worry you to be the end of the day? Are you sad because you're on your own? No, I get by with little help from my friends. Ooh, I get high with little help from my friends. Ooh, I'm gonna try with little help from my friends. Do you need anybody? I need somebody to love. Could it be anybody? I just want someone to love. Would you believe in my love?
I mean, it's exciting for me to think I know each and every student in the community, and it's not age bound, and I'm not sort of a caretaker of one particular band of 25 children kind of a thing. So it's nice to know different age groups, interact with different age groups. And the fact that we do everything ourselves in the school, we may be caring for the land or cleaning space. I mean, the fact that we're sort of in it together, it feels much more meaningful.
That we've divorced ourselves and alienated ourselves so much from the natural world that we are feeling it inside. It is affecting us. And for us to have children growing up in a natural space, it's just a boon. It's wonderful for us also. So being in nature, then working on the land, to be able to understand what it takes to grow your own food, even just to get a feel. We're not completely self-sustaining food-wise, but for them to get to see the whole system of how a vegetable grows from seed to plate, to know what that is. Again, many people are divorced from that kind of reality. Then if you look at doing work on campus, the children joke that we all do the work because we can't afford to hire people to do it for us. And as they grow older, we tell them that's actually a bit offensive. You have to understand the dignity of every bit of labor, right? There is quality in sweeping. There's not only quality in how you do your maths problems or how you write an essay. There is such a thing as keeping a room clean and knowing how to mop well. So we learn that also together. Chopping vegetables. Also, it brings a sense of ownership of the space. If I have cleaned this space and I walk into it later in the day, I can't point my finger at anyone else and say, so badly maintained. It's me. We did it. And I might in fact appreciate that, oh, it's so well cleaned today.
Can a school not just be a means for that single child to bring their particular life to fruition, but whatever one's choices are after school and things, it takes into consideration other people, the natural world around us, society, just various other factors. So it's not just me going through this machine called school and then I'm fitting into something. It's not an individualistic decision is what I would like to look at it as.
Seniors also help running the school actually. They interact with the juniors, they take games for them, they assist in their classes, they go on walks with them. That also gives them a sense of connection with their juniors, but more than that, again, that sense of ownership that we're running the school together. When there are difficulties in the rest of the school, we hear from it first from the seniors. They come and tell us, this is not working very well, that's not happening, why have you done this, you should not have, or when we were young, this is what we used to do and now you've stopped doing it, why? So we get a lot of that.
Again and again and again. This step that you all are doing, it's just this.
This is not the, you can't even make the math. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2.
There are many things that a small school can do as a model in education. For example, we have demonstrated that for nearly 30 years we can work as a teacher-run school. right? You do not need to create a hierarchical structure. You do not immediately need to create authority figures to be efficient and effective. We've also demonstrated that without putting children through several hoops, including exam and stress and strain, that they can actually learn and they can do well even in traditional assessment things like exams, and that they can actually go out and earn a livelihood, which is a clear demonstration that you don't need to do all the other things that people claim that we need to do, and it's a living model for such a thing. There have been many experiments in pedagogy and curriculum that we have documented that can be shared and used in schools. Secondly, we have consciously created a financial philosophy where we feel that finances should not be a barrier to being partaking of this education. So we try very hard not to use finances as any kind of screen for people to come in. The main criteria is people are interested in this education.
The teachers who started CFL were, several of them, interested in the questions Krishnamurti had raised about education, about life, and this brought them together to start the school.
The starting point, I would say, of Krishnamurti's philosophy or teaching, as some people call it, is that human beings are conditioned and conditionable. But what is interesting is Krishnamurti is raising many questions, that most of our actions, most of our beliefs, most of our feelings also are coming because of conditioning which has happened over centuries. And education actually has fallen into the slot of being one more source of conditioning humans. And what he's suggesting is when conditioned human beings relate in particular manners, then they create the society that we have today.
Another fascinating thing Krishnamurti suggested was that you are the world. And I think that's a very interesting statement, and many interesting questions can arise from that. In daily living, we take ourselves to be separate people functioning autonomously, or at most part of groups that shares a certain kind of consciousness. Like it could be a nationality, or it could be a caste, or any other social group. But when he says that you are the world, it opens up this very interesting question that are we really fragmented, separate human beings? Or are we really fragmented social groups, which is the scene when you look at the world overall today? He seems to be suggesting that all human beings share consciousness, human consciousness, and it's not split up into separateness and division and conflict. And there is something to understand about the unity of human consciousness as a whole. And in a school context, that is something one can very richly and creatively explore with students, whether through the curriculum or in interpersonal relationships or in thinking about life together.
Another aspect that I find very interesting in what Krishnamurti suggests is this idea that there is an intelligence that we can explore in education, not the kind that education is usually obsessed with, that discriminates between more and less intelligent people, but something that's accessible to all of us, to all living creatures for that matter, and that perhaps if we can find that in our life, we would not be generating so much conflict and suffering.
Wait guys, please listen to music. Outside circle, stop right.
Okay, I'm starting.
Trademark bad circles, not very circular.
You guys saved it.
Okay, so as we said earlier, we're a small school. And if you look at the numbers, with 72 to 75 children, supporting 15 full-time teachers, unless we charge very high fees, we can't balance the budget. So there is a deficit every year. It's a conscious deficit. There's nothing surprising about it. We plan for it because we want to make sure the school is affordable for anyone who comes in.
Every year we are working with a deficit budget, and the way to meet this deficit budget is by support from individuals at large.
So parents pay what they can towards the cost of running the school. And the gap, the shortfall every year is met through either annual donations or the interest from a corpus that we've built up over the years. This corpus is also nothing but contributions from a large number of friends around the world.
When you support a venture like this, you're supporting an experiment that is trying to do something different. It's working at several levels with different paradigms, from a non-hierarchical working setup, keeping learning and inquiry at the heart of its work.
So when an individual supports CFL, it's not just a matter of the financial contribution they make, right? It's also the point that they have now become involved in our questions. They have tapped into this whole field of inquiry that we are so excited to be part of. So that's a very meaningful thing for us, and that's what keeps us going emotionally and philosophically in this journey.
Yeah, so the thing is, to sustain this model, to keep it going for the next 100 years, we really need the help of just people going about their lives with their questions, wondering, is there some alternative way for children to be educated? Here's an interesting thing, let me support this.
In supporting a school like this, we are not supporting just a small number of kids and helping them complete their education. We feel that CFL has many things to offer to society at large, and when you support a venture like CFL, you are supporting many of those experiments that are happening.